Hi guys, Randall here. Today I want to talk about Truststones. I've been farming very hard for this Truststone materials over the last couple weeks, especially the ×3 week, where I think I've spent all my energy hosting multi-rooms for this. So I managed to exchange roughly half the shop on the previous month, and then for the month of April, roughly half the exchange shop again. So there's 35 left here, 15 left here, and I've been trying to farm them a little as evenly as I could, but there we go. And so far, all the runes, the trust stones that I have crafted, I've done without spending any paid viz to buy anything, or without getting any rune really via viz in any way. I've only used the farming methods in multi and single player quests to get those purples and then exchange them for the pink ones. So what I want to do today is just show you how my runes look like right now, what is my rationale behind the ones that I'm building, and just giving you an idea, if you haven't yet started farming, how much does how quickly can you get runes set up without spending viz on them, and how much of an improvement you can get using them. So let us take a look at the rune tab. And I guess the first thing I want to show you is what one of my pieces of gear will look like once they're equipped. So without spending any paid viz again, I've been able to build quite a few UR runes. Now, I am at a fairly high roll rank, which allows me to use more potions than the average player could, so that is something to consider. But overall, if you're hosting multi-rooms or joining multi-rooms, it's either energy cost free or at half energy, which is really very efficient. And if I'm looking at these items, I have a couple of them where I can actually equip them with full UR sets. Now, I'm only beginning, these sets are far from perfect, and when you farm, you can actually create more runes than you have materials to level abilities, because leveling abilities takes an insane amount of materials. But on this set, I have agility on one side, luck on the other, and I was able to roll a couple really good abilities. I've got a luck up ability that I've maxed to 10%, a defense penetration ability that I've maxed to 10 as well, some slash attack, some HP, and then some runes that I haven't leveled at all, like missile attack resistance penetration, missile attack resistance. You can tell that this is all a little bit jumbled up because as I'm still beginning in the system, I don't have full sets for someone. So I made one rune, for example, thinking of Starlit Elena, that has spirit penetration and light attack up. I'm building one that's going to have missile attack up and missile attack resistance penetration, because I'm thinking one day this combination will be useful, but I'm not really diving deep into making the perfect set for Noctis or the perfect set for Elena just yet. I just want good general purpose runes that I can use on anyone. But it still ends up with pretty powerful abilities overall. So this is one of them if I was to scroll to my bells, for example. So we'll get there in a second. They have a bunch of good abilities as well. A lot of them are random abilities that I haven't really leveled. You can see this from this list right here. But I also have 25 stop resistance, which will be fantastic in manual against some enemies. Luck up 10% again, attack 20%, 20% less reaction rate. This is a passive that I value very, very highly, because whenever reflex happens, I gain more white hair, and I would like not to have a completely white head by the end of the year, so this is a valuable one to me. So let's take a look at my actual runes. And I have a couple of them that are greens or blues or other rarities. That is to complete sets, and it's a perfectly fine strategy. You do get a massive power boost when you create them all the way, but for me, this is fine when I use equipment that I use more rarely than others. So if it's not something I'm using on every single team comp, I'm gonna fit them with lower rarity runes, and it's fine by me. And these are, I keep at level 1. I don't feel like it's worth all the adamantite that it takes to level them, because you'll end up running out of these materials if you try to level too many. So I don't spend anything in there. I just decide to upgrade to 20 the ones that are UR rarity, because these are the ones I want to keep in the long run. So let's take a look at what I rolled. I have an HP that has light attack resistance, seems very relevant for now with a guild battle. A luck set with dark attack resistance. Eventually, dark is going to be a really good evasion hunter thing once Joker comes out, so I'm getting ready for this a little bit. And then a luck set that rolled luck up. My ideal is to have 3 different luck sets with the luck up ability at 10%, because eventually I can outfit a whole team with either a lot of accuracy or a lot of evasion thanks to that. I've been lucky enough to roll 3 of them, so right now it's redundant because I only have 2 luck sets and this ability 3 times. But I don't mind, I'm saving up a really good ability for future proof. And then these all have only one passive, but something I understood that really changed the way I was building passives is that when you're transferring a passive from a rune to another, you don't actually lose the rune you take the passive from, and that is initially what I thought. So, for example, if I was to take the slash attack up 4 from this magic type rune and move it to this one, it already has 2, you would be capped because you have a maximum of 2 passives, but let's assume I would move it. What would happen is this rune would now have the slash attack up, and this would still be a UR rune, it would just not have any additional ability. And at that point, I can click the dismantle button and get refunded for the entire rune, craft a new one again, and roll an ability one more time, and then I can keep going with that. So you can actually get abilities at will, as long as you have a rune that you're ready to dedicate for this purpose. So the ability to transfer abilities at will has permitted me to have 2 abilities on almost every single one of my runes. And again, I'm trying to build them for general purpose. So stats like attack up or magic up for me are super high value because they're applicable to a large variety of units. So a rune that has attack up and defense penetration is as good as it gets. Now this one is on a speed type. My goal for starters is to have on the defensive side, so for I runes, I want to create 1 HP set, 2 luck sets, eventually I will want a 3rd luck set, and then I want to focus on a shield type and a barrier type for the extra healing power, spirit, and defense. These will be my next go-tos. And then I'll start creating sets specific to units, but this is my beginning strategy. And then on the offensive side, I want 2 agility sets, 2 accuracy sets, one that's going to be tailored more towards magical attackers and one that's going to be tailored towards physical attackers because they don't really use the same abilities. And then eventually I want to create a magic and an attack set, but this is really in the long future. Since when you transfer abilities, you're forced to do it from a type of rune that is not the same as the ones you're crafting. If I'm unmaking and making runes to get some specific abilities, I make them a different type, which is why I have a magic here. It's really just to help me with the transferring of abilities. So let's take a look at these. I told you I had this one that has attack and defense penetration. Then I have an accuracy rune that is going to be magic oriented. So I rolled the stats until it has a high amount of magic, and then it's going to have magic attack, resistance penetration, and wind attack up. You can tell this is going to be designed for Halloween Little Leela, for example. But then I also have a physical oriented aim type that's going to have acquired AP up and accuracy up. In this case, these could also be useful for a mage, but typically they don't need the acquired AP up that much. I'm just trying to mix up abilities that I feel will be useful together in the future. Got one for defense penetration again and slash attack. I felt like these go well together, but slash attack, now that I think about it, isn't all that valuable. And that goes to something, the abilities that you get from your runes, if they are these passives that we're talking about, they do not stack with passives from equipment, which can be a bit of an issue if I'm looking at, say, a Myth Graven Blade that already gives me slash attack up 20, well, my rune gives me 0 because the 20 from the Myth Graven Blade is actually higher. So you could focus very hard on elemental damage bonuses for units that don't have elemental exclusive weapons, like Cloud's Buster Sword, for example, that already has lightning attack. But if you're using weapons that already have a specific passive, be sure not to be redundant because you lose out on a lot of value. So I was taking a look at this rune, for example, that had slash attack up 6. There's a pretty good chance the slash attack up won't matter. So same thing for accuracy up 4 here. It's going to be good on an aim type, but if I'm running an Alexandrite ring, well, this specific accuracy up 4 will not be useful because I already have a passive that gives me some accuracy. Still, these are pretty strong runes. I'm going to be happy with them. I've got a luck set with missile attack resistance, which seems to me like a really good get because missile attacks have sharpshoot, which is a guaranteed hit. So if you're a luck-oriented unit and you're trying to dodge, well, having some missile resistance will help you. One with HP up. I feel like if the one highest value passive on the defensive side is luck up, followed very quickly by max HP up. So these two you want to have on every single one of your sets, because the extra luck helps you hit, even if you're not an evasion unit. It's accuracy, which is very important. And then the max HP up is useful for every single unit. There is nobody that doesn't benefit from being able to take an extra hit, perhaps. And then on the offensive side, it really depends who you're talking about, but I would say the most important are attack up, magic up, reaction rate down, healing power up, which could surprise you, but on anyone, healing power up is good because it increases how much you will get healed by your healer, no matter what. So even if you're not the one doing the healing, it is actually a good passive to have. And then I would value the dexterity up passive quite highly, but I haven't really rolled it so far. So in my tier runes, I have one that's going to be missile attack resistance and missile attack. I had the two passives that I could see. I decided they would be a good mix eventually, but again, the missile attack could be redundant with my weapon, so I have to be wary of that when I equip it. I've got lightning attack and slash resistance penetration. In my mind, it would be great for Cloud, and then I realized lightning attack redundant with Buster Sword, so that was potentially a mistake, but it's how it is right now. Got one with wind attack and crit damage. I feel like Winter Dwartha could potentially play around with this and be very strong. So I'm just thinking about units, trying to make something. Attack and fire attack, probably for Setya eventually, who definitely needs an aim type. And then this one is holding a Spirit Penetration up passive that could be relevant eventually. So I have quite a few of them. I always have one that's off type that's used to transfer passives so that I can have two. So here I have wind attack resistance and max HP up. I'm very happy about this one. I've got missile attack resistance and luck up, so another case of luck rune that helps you survive against missile attacks. I've got luck up and stop resistance. So I've got quite a few of these, and then I saved another missile attack resistance because I really dislike getting peppered by missile attacks, and having these resistances will eventually be useful. And then the final type, I've got a couple good ones as well, the Spirit Penetration and Light Attack. I had Starlit Elena in mind when I crafted this, but then I realized her own sword, again, has Light Attack 10, so it's a bit of a wasted passive, but it is how it is right now. If I could redo it, I would probably remove the Light Attack up and replace it with a Slash Resistance Penetration 4, and I have that somewhere. I have that right here. So I'm keeping this passive, thinking that maybe I'll do the trade and have a better setup for Starlit Elena, but I haven't pulled the trigger just yet. So this is it. I just wanted to show you, if you're striving to craft runes, this is how you can get, without spending any viz, without buying those UR runes that appear in the shop once in a while. It's very doable. You just need to sacrifice your life to the lords of farming and keep going until you roll some good stuff. And then I guess one final thing, when you're doing your item exchanges, if you just want the UR runes quickly, you can decide to sacrifice blues to make more purples, and then you sacrifice your purples directly to make your pink. Let's take one of them where I actually have some in stock. So right here, it's 25 purple for every pink I can make, but it's also 5 blues for every purple. The thing is, if you're doing that, you are severely slowing the rate at which you'll be able to level your abilities, because you're not increasing the amount of pinks you're getting by a large amount, but every one of these that you craft is worth 500 experience, whereas every green that you craft is worth 200 experience for your runes. So if you craft both your greens and your blues and you feed that to level your abilities, you are leveling your abilities a lot quicker. And as you can tell, more than half my abilities are not leveled at all yet, so it does take a lot of materials. Either way, this is not a deep dive into the best of abilities, it was more of a, how does my account look like, what is my rationale, and hopefully that inspires you for your own. So thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.